to better save mankind, to see to Satan's defeat. Whether it be in spirit or his flesh incarnation, it is only God that can do battle with Satan. The angels can never do battle with Satan, and oh, so much less could it ever be meant for. The angels are powerless and man is corrupted. Man is even less able to intervene. If God intends to work on the life of man, if it's on earth that he wishes to work on man, then he must become flesh. He must put on the flesh with his work and identity to save man by himself. God became flesh twice to better save mankind, to see to Satan's defeat. Whether it be in spirit or his flesh incarnation, it is only God that can do battle with Satan. The battle with Satan can only be fought by God. It is simply impossible to be fought by man. Man's duty is to obey, man's duty to follow, but man is unable to do the work of opening a new epoch. Man can only satisfy the Creator under the leadership of God himself, through which Satan is sure to lose. This is all the man can do. God became flesh twice to better save mankind, to see to Satan's defeat. Whether it be in spirit or his flesh incarnation, it is only God that can do battle with Satan. If the work was done by the Spirit of God, if the work was done by the hand of man, then this battle would never come to its true effect or end. Every time a new battle commences, every time the work of the new age begins, the work is done by God himself, through which he personally leads the entire age. He opens a new path for the whole of mankind, and the dawn of each new age is a new battle with Satan, through which man enters a newer, more beautiful realm, and a new age that is personally led by God himself. God became flesh twice to better save mankind, to see to Satan's defeat. Whether it be in spirit or his flesh incarnation, it is only God that can do battle with Satan.
Corrupt mankind is more in need of the salvation of God become flesh. Each stage of God's work in the flesh represents his work of the entire age, and does not represent a certain period like the work of man. And so the end of the work of his last incarnation does not mean that his work has come to a complete end, for his work in the flesh represents the entire age, and does not only represent the period in which he does his work in the flesh. It is just that he finishes his work of the entire age during the time that he is in the flesh, after which it spreads to all places. After the incarnate God fulfills his ministry, he will entrust his future work to those who follow him. In this way, his work of the entire age will be carried on unbroken. The work of the entire age of incarnation shall only be considered complete once it has spread throughout the entire universe. The work of God incarnate begins a new era, and those who continue his work are the men who are used by him. The work done by man is all within the ministry of God in the flesh, and is incapable of going beyond this scope. If God incarnate does not come to do his work, man is not able to bring the old age to an end, and is not able to usher in a new era. The work done by man is merely within the range of his duty that is humanly possible, and does not represent the work of God. Only the incarnate God can come and complete the work that he should do, and apart from him, no one can do this work on his behalf. Of course, what I speak of is in regard with the work of incarnation. This incarnate God first carries out a step of work that does not conform to the conceptions of man, after which he does more work that does not conform to the conceptions of man. The aim of the work is the conquest of man. In one regard, God's incarnation does not conform to the conceptions of man, in addition to which he does more work that does not conform to the conceptions of man, and so man develops even more critical views about him. He just does the work of conquest among men who have myriad conceptions toward him. Regardless of how they treat him, once he has fulfilled his ministry, all men will have become subject to his dominion. The fact of this work is not only reflected among Chinese people, but represents how the whole of mankind shall be conquered. The effects that are achieved on these people are a precursor of the effects that shall be achieved on the whole of mankind, and the effects of the work that he does in the future shall even increasingly exceed the effects on these people. The work of God in the flesh does not involve great fanfare, nor is it shrouded in mystery. It is real and actual, and it is work in which 1 and 1 equals 2. It is not hidden from anyone, nor does it deceive anyone. What people see are real and genuine things, and what man gains is real truth and knowledge. When the work ends, man shall have a new knowledge of him, and those who truly seek God shall no longer have any conceptions of him. This is not just the effect of his work on Chinese people, but also represents the effect of his work in conquering the whole of mankind. For nothing is more beneficial to the work of conquering the whole of mankind than this flesh, and the work of this flesh, and everything of this flesh. They are beneficial to his work today, and beneficial to his work in the future. This flesh shall conquer the whole of mankind, and shall gain the whole of mankind. There is no better work through which the whole of mankind shall behold God, and obey God, and know God. The work done by man only represents a limited scope, and when God does his work, he does not speak to a certain person, but speaks to the whole of mankind, and all those who accept his words. The end that he proclaims is the end of all men, not just the end of a certain person. He does not give anyone special treatment, nor does he victimize anyone, and he works for and speaks to the whole of mankind. And so this incarnate God has already classed the whole of mankind according to kind, has already judged the whole of mankind, and has arranged a suitable destination for the whole of mankind. Although God only does his work in China, in fact, he has already resolved the work of the entire universe. He cannot wait until his work has spread among the whole of mankind before making his utterances and arrangements step by step. Would that not be too late? Now he is fully able to complete the future work in advance, because the one who is working is God in the flesh. He is doing limitless work within a limited scope. And afterward, he shall make man perform the duty that man should. This is the principle of his work. He can only live with man for a time, and cannot accompany man until the work of the whole era is concluded. It is because he is God that he foretells his future work in advance. Afterward, he shall class the whole of mankind according to kind by his words, and mankind shall enter into his step-by-step work according to his words. None shall escape, and all must practice according to this. So, in the future, the age shall be guided by his words and not guided by the Spirit. The work of God in the flesh must be done in the flesh. If it were done directly by the Spirit of God, it would yield no effects. Even if it were done by the Spirit, the work would be of no great significance and would ultimately be unpersuasive. All creatures wish to know whether the work of the Creator has significance and what it represents and what it is for the sake of, and whether the work of God is full of authority and wisdom, and whether it is of the utmost value and significance. The work he does is for the salvation of the whole of mankind, for the sake of defeating Satan, and for bearing testimony to himself among all things. As such, the work that he does must be of great significance. The flesh of man has been corrupted by Satan, and most deeply blinded and profoundly harmed. The most fundamental reason why God works personally in the flesh is because the object of his salvation is man, who is of the flesh, and because Satan also uses the flesh of man to disturb the work of God. The battle with Satan is actually the work of conquering man, and at the same time, man is also the object of God's salvation. In this way, the work of God incarnate is essential. Satan corrupted the flesh of man, and man became the embodiment of Satan, and became the object to be defeated by God. In this way, the work of doing battle with Satan and saving mankind occurs on earth, and God must become human in order to do battle with Satan. This is work of the utmost practicality. When God is working in the flesh, he is actually doing battle with Satan in the flesh. When he works in the flesh, he is doing his work in the spiritual realm, and makes the whole of his work in the spiritual realm real on earth. The one who is conquered is man, who is disobedient to him. The one who is defeated is the embodiment of Satan. Of course, this is also man, who is in enmity of him, and the one who is ultimately saved is also man. In this way, it is even more necessary for him to become a man who has the outer shell of a creature, so that he is able to do real battle with Satan, conquering man, who is disobedient to him and possessed of the same outer shell as him, and saving man, who is of the same outer shell as him and has been harmed by Satan. His enemy is man, the object of his conquest is man, and the object of his salvation is man, who was created by him. So he must become man, and in this way his work becomes much easier. He is able to defeat Satan and conquer mankind, and moreover is able to save mankind. Although this flesh is normal and real, he is no common flesh. He is not flesh that is only human, but flesh that is both human and divine. This is his difference to man, and is the mark of the identity of God. Only flesh such as this can do the work that he intends to do, and fulfill the ministry of God in the flesh, and fully complete his work among man. If it were not thus, his work among man would always be empty and flawed. Even though God can do battle with the spirit of Satan and emerge victorious, the old disposition of corrupted man can never be resolved, and those who are disobedient to him and oppose him can never truly become subject to his dominion, which is to say, he can never conquer mankind and can never gain the whole of mankind. If his work on earth cannot be resolved, then his management shall never be brought to an end, and the whole of mankind will not be able to enter rest. If God cannot enter rest with all of his creatures, then there shall never be an outcome to such management work, and the glory of God shall consequently disappear. Although his flesh has no authority, the work he does will have achieved its effect. This is the inevitable direction of his work. Regardless of whether or not his flesh is possessed of authority, as long as he is capable of doing the work of God himself, then he is God himself. Regardless of how normal and ordinary this flesh is, he can do the work he should do. For this flesh is God and not just a man. The reason this flesh can do the work that man cannot do is because his inward substance is unlike that of any man, and the reason he can save man is because his identity is different from that of any man. This flesh is so important to mankind because he is man and even more God, because he can do the work that no ordinary man of flesh can do, and because he can save corrupt man who lives together with him on earth. Though he is identical to man, the incarnate God is more important to mankind than any person of value, for he can do the work that cannot be done by the Spirit of God, is more able than the Spirit of God to bear testimony to God himself, and is more able than the Spirit of God to fully gain mankind. As a result, although this flesh is normal and ordinary, his contribution to mankind and his significance to the existence of mankind make him highly precious, and the real value and significance of this flesh is immeasurable to any man. Although this flesh cannot directly destroy Satan, he can use his work to conquer mankind and defeat Satan, and make Satan fully submit to his dominion. It is because God is incarnated that he can defeat Satan and is able to save mankind. he does not directly destroy Satan, but becomes flesh to do the work to conquer mankind, who has been corrupted by Satan. In this way, he is better able to bear testimony to himself among the creatures, and is better able to save corrupted man. God incarnate's defeat of Satan bears greater testimony and is more persuasive than the direct destruction of Satan by the Spirit of God. God in the flesh is better able to help man know the Creator, and is better able to bear testimony to himself among the creatures.
Incarnate God can do work man can't do. His inward substance is unlike man's. The reason he can save man is because his identity is different from man's. The incarnate God's similar to man, but more important than any person, for he can do the work that God's Spirit can more so bear witness for God and gain man. So though he is a normal, ordinary flesh, his contribution and meaning to man make him very precious to all mankind, and his real value and worth are immense. Oh, this flesh is so important to mankind, because he is both man and more so God. He can do the work no man of flesh can, save corrupt man who lives with him here on earth. This flesh can't directly destroy Satan, but his work can conquer man and beat Satan and make Satan fully submit to him. Through this flesh God beats Satan and saves man. Not directly does he destroy Satan, but becomes flesh to conquer corrupt man. Thus he can better bear witness for himself, and is better able to save corrupt man. Oh, this flesh is so important to man.
Watch A Taste of Canaan to enjoy the living waters that flow from God's throne. If you'd like to learn more about the Church of Almighty God, please call us at 1-347-422-1980 or find us online at www.holyspiritspeaks.org.